Sahana vavatu Sahanau bhunaktu Saha viryam karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Hari Om. We will chant chapter 7, verses 1 to 5. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Maya Saktamanah Partha Yogam Yunjanmadashrayah Asamshayam Samagram Mam Yata Jnāsyasi Tachrunu Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshyamya sheshatah yajñātvā neha bhūyonyat jñātavyam avashishyate manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid siddhaye yatataamapi siddhanam kaschinmam veti tatvatah bhumirapo nalo vayu kham mano buddhirevacha aham karayiti yam me binna prakritirashtadha apareyamitat swanyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam daryate jagat.
The 7th chapter of Gita, the yoga of knowledge and wisdom. Jnana Vijnana Yoga. Jnanam means knowledge. Vijnanam means internalized knowledge, wisdom. Of all the scriptural texts, why is that we consider Bhagavad Gita as relevant for anyone, cross-section of humanity? The Bhagavad Gita can be introduced, provided some words are known. Without familiarity with certain words that are used, even Bhagavad Gita would be very steep. A set of 9 verses, which is called as Dhyana Shloka, Gita Dhyanam, which is an invocation to the Bhagavad Gita. In that, one of the verses say that the Bhagavad Gita has been derived from the Upanishads. Like a milkman derives milk from a cow and then gives it to people. Sarvopanishado gavo dukta gopalanandanaha. All the Upanishads is like cow. And Krishna is the milkman. And milk is the Bhagavad Gita. If a cow is given to you, how will you make coffee? You have to make food for the cow first. So we won't know how to make coffee with the cow. Someone has to milk that cow and then give the milk. Then it is possible for us to consume. So the Gita Dhyanam says that Krishna did that job. What is that he did? 1 hour in his life he spoke. That's all. That too in the worst possible situation he spoke. To a totally unprepared audience he spoke. Totally unprepared audience was Arjuna. He was in no condition to listen to the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. He was not aspiring evolution. He was just looking for some help. It is like someone in the roadside having a breakdown in the car. And then you stop by and give a Bhagavad Gita. That becomes a universal manual. This is exactly what happened. Arjuna had a breakdown. Krishna happened to pass by that side. Arjuna put his hand and asked for help. Krishna gave out 700 verses of Gita. 5,000 years later, we are studying it. Cross section of humanity, it is applicable to. And the Gita Dhyanam verse says that Krishna did that job. What is that job? He bridged the knowledge of Vedas, the Upanishads, in such a way that Sudhir Bhokta, those who are wise, those who are seeking for realities of life, can understand the Bhagavad Gita, and through the Bhagavad Gita, they can understand the Upanishads. When we study the scripture, there are two types of scriptural texts. One is called as Brahma Vidya, the other is called as Yoga Shastra. In any subject, it is very important to understand who the subject is taught to. The student is very important. Where is the student? What is the capacity of the student? What is the receptivity of the student? What is the mental situation of the student? And what is that the student needs to do next with the knowledge? These are very important. Just because we have access or we can afford, we cannot buy books and read on our own. You may say, why not I read on my own? You can read all the medical books in the world on your own, but you will not know where the kidney is. Forget others' kidney, your own kidney you will not know. You can read all the legal books in the world, but you will not know how to read your own house documents. Your own birth certificate, you may not know how to read it. You have to go through a system, a proper system. You have to go to a law school. You have to go to a medical school. You have to go to an engineering school. Similarly, when it comes to knowledge of life and living, we have to go through a method. We have to go through a sequence. The highest literature in terms of scripture is called as Brahma Vidya. Brahma Vidya means that which declares the highest reality, Brahman. And then the second type of literature is called as Yoga Shastra. Yoga Shastra means that which helps a person use one's mind and intellect to connect with the self. How to use our own mind and intellect to connect with the self, with the Atma, Yoga Shastra teaches. And then there is a third type of literature which is called as Prakriya Grantha. Prakriya means foundation, Grantha means compositions. Prakriya Granthas means foundation literature, basic literatures. Just as you say, graduation, post-graduation, doctoral research. In this way, you can say Prakriya Grantha, Yoga Shastra, Brahma Vidya. Prakriya Granthas are Bhajagovindam, Atma Bodha, Tattva Bodha. Why they are called as Prakriya Granthas? Because they help us understand the words. Vocabulary is very important. Prarabdha. What does the word Prarabdha means? What does the word Prarabdha mean? Ishvara. What does the word Ishvara mean? We need to understand these words because the books are going to use these words. If you understand these words in a particular way, because your grandmother gave a definition and your wife's grandmother gave the opposite definition. You study the Bhagavad Gita, there will be a divorce in the family. You understand? Usually grandmothers, that's what they do. So you have to have a proper understanding of the words. You understand? There has to be consensus. When you go to a doctor, the doctor uses a word in a particular way. The pharmacist has to understand it in the same way, or else the medicine, the composition that is given will go wrong. The pharmacist has to understand what the doctor has written. So the Prakriya Granthas ensure that you understand the right meaning, association and interpretation for terminologies. Very, very important. With which you can come to Yoga Shastra. So the basic knowledge of scriptures has to be studied first, with which you develop this conviction, this aspiration that I want to evolve. I have understood what is the mission and purpose of life. I don't want to waste this opportunity, this human birth. Then Yoga Shastra. Then the attainment of the absolute, Brahma Vidya. So the Bhagavad Gita is called as both Yoga Shastra and Brahma Vidya. The Bhagavad Gita serves as both Yoga Shastra and Brahma Vidya. So you get the benefit of studying the Upanishads and you get the benefit of knowing how to use your life, your own faculties for spiritual evolution. You understand? So point number one, why do we study Bhagavad Gita? What is that Bhagavad Gita teaches us? The Bhagavad Gita talks about, all the Vedantic scriptures talk about three aspects of life. You, world, God. You, the nature of Jiva. World, Jagat. God, Ishvara, Brahman. The word you, Sanskrit term is Jiva. Jiva means the individual. It talks about the individual. The Bhagavad Gita talks about the individual. Upanishads are talking about the individual. But the Upanishads are talking about the individual 1%, 2%. 98% it is talking about Brahman. So all the scriptural literatures will have these three compositions. These are the three contents. Anything written in Sanskrit is not Veda. You understand? Anything that is written in Sanskrit, people believe that it is spiritual literature. Not really. Spirituality means it has to connect these three. If there is a subject that talks about you, the individual, it could be medical science. Medical science doesn't connect you with world with God and establish the equation. It doesn't do. It connects with, it talks about you, that to the physical dimension. Geography, it talks about the world. It doesn't talk about you. It doesn't talk about God. Much less it connects the three. You understand? So scriptural literature means it talks about you, the nature of individual, Jiva. The second is world, Jagat. And third is God. And when it comes to God, there are two aspects. One is called as Ishvara, the other is called as Brahman. We should know what these words mean. Without understanding these words, there will be total confusion. That is why those who study Vedanta seem to be more confused and intellectually paralyzed than atheists. People who go to LCBO, Las Vegas are better off than us. We are totally confused whether to go to temple or not. Suddenly going to temple has become sinful. I am a Vedantin, should I go to temple or not? I am a Vedantin, should I go to a puja or not? That is because we have not understood the terminologies. If we have not understood the terminologies, we do not understand their application in life. How am I to place myself with reference to these aspects? There's a confusion. So remember this, these are fundamentals. I'm 100% sure none of you remember anything that we discussed till December 30. December 30, I left for India. The big assumption to believe that we can get into 7th chapter. So forget you, I am trying to test how much I remember after 3 months of vacation. Vishaka, till now it is okay, I remember some words at least. So Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara, Brahman. Put Ishvara, Brahman into third category. You understand, Raghu? Jiva. Jiva means individual. I am Raghu, you say. I am Rangarajan. I am Merrill. I am Gary. What is the nature of this individual who is claiming himself to be Raghu, herself to be Merrill? This is the first analysis. Who is this individual? Jiva Swarupam, it is called. Remember these words. Subhash, don't think introduction, I have heard it 100 times. Jiva Swarupam means, Swa means one's own, Rupam means form. The real form of your individuality is being introduced in the Bhagavad Gita. Jiva Swarupam is one of the topics. Jiva. Jagat, Jagat means that which goes and comes. That which appears and disappears. That which does not stay independent of you. What is that which doesn't stay independent of you? Waking, dream, deep sleep states. The three states. What is the nature of this world? The Bhagavad Gita analyzes that. And then is there something called as God? Is God part of the world? Is God apart from the world? What is the connection between this individual, world, and God is being analyzed as the third component. You understand? Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara and Brahman. The word Ishvara means God with qualities. Brahman means God beyond qualities. Saguna Brahman is Ishvara. Nirguna Brahman is Brahman. Whenever we hear the word Brahman, it is Nirguna. Whenever we hear the word Ishvara, it is Saguna. Saguna means with qualities, based on individual, with reference to the world. All religions are talking about Saguna. Vedanta is taking us beyond Saguna to Nirguna. So you should understand the blueprint of what is scripture, and then now ask yourself a question: am I interested in going in this path? What is that I am interested to do? I want to know about myself. This interest everyone will have. World, AI will take care of it. Why bother about the world? God, who is bothered about God? World itself, we are not bothered. So you may not be bothered about God, you may not be bothered about world, but you can't say, I am not bothered about myself. That is not possible. So the Yoga Shastra, Brahma Vidya, two types of literatures. The Bhagavad Gita is called as Yoga Shastra, the Bhagavad Gita is called as Brahma Vidya. What is that the Bhagavad Gita is dealing with? You, world, God. One way of looking at it. But how does the Bhagavad Gita deliver this message? Why does it take 18 chapters? The 18 chapters can be divided into three sets of 6 chapters each. If you look at Bhagavad Gita as a Yoga Shastra, it can be divided in a particular way. If you look at Bhagavad Gita as Brahma Vidya, the 18 chapters can be divided in different ways. You understand, Subhash? Yoga Shastra means the science of performing, the path of performing spiritual practices for evolution. This is Yoga Shastra. What are the spiritual practices? Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga. You understand, Divya? Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga are the spiritual practices. So the Yoga Shastra is talking about how to perform Karma Yoga, how to engage in Upasana or Bhakti, and what is knowledge, Jnanam, how to gain that knowledge. So if you look at Bhagavad Gita as a Yoga Shastra, the first 6 chapters are talking about Karma Yoga. Chapter 1 to 6 is talking about Karma Yoga. Chapter 7 to 12 is talking about Upasana. It is talking about Bhakti Yoga. But what is the type of Upasana, Bhakti Yoga, Bhagavad Gita is talking about? It is not talking about going to a church or a temple or a mosque. It is not talking about religious practices. You understand? It is talking about how to visualize this world that you are constantly contacting. Upasana itself is a sequential practice. Beautifully, we are going to see the sequence in Bhakti. When we study the Upanishad Vedanta, we feel that, oh, knowledge is all very, very difficult. Bhakti is very easy. Now, chapter 7 to 12, you are going to study Bhakti. And then you believe knowledge is difficult, Bhakti is difficult, Karma, we will go. Karma, the moment karma is given, we run away. We find fault with the action and run away from it. None of us have the stamina, because any action we perform has to bring bread or butter to me. If it doesn't bring anything in return to me, the action itself is given up. So you quit Jnanam, come to Bhakti. You quit Bhakti, come to Karma. You quit Karma and go to Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga finished. No appetite. What you ate yesterday doesn't come out. Hatha Yoga is not easy. Buying a Lululemon track pant and standing upside down is relatively easier. If there is a good teacher, they can teach you. Hatha Yoga is not that. So the science of how to understand these practices with reference to me, where do I start, what do I perform, is Yoga Shastra. Bhagavad Gita is talking about it in beautiful sequence. First 6 chapters Karma Yoga, next set of 6 chapters Bhakti Yoga, chapter 13 to 18 is talking about Jnanam, knowledge. The knowledge that will help you go from where you are to your goal in life. This is, if you look at Bhagavad Gita as a Yoga Shastra, if you look at Bhagavad Gita as a Brahma Vidya, directly derived from Upanishad, the central message of Upanishad is Tat Tvamasi. Tat Tvamasi means you are that reality. Tat Tvam Asi. The first 6 chapters are talking about Tvam. Tvam means you. The next set of 6 chapters are talking about Tat. Tat means that God. The last set of 6 chapters, 13 to 18, is talking about Asi. Asi means the equation, the connection between the individual, world, and God. You understand? So the first set of 6 chapters are talking about Tvam, individual, evolution of an individual. The next set of 6 chapters are talking about Tat, reality. And the last set of 6 chapters are talking about Asi, the equation, knowledge. So in this text, Bhagavad Gita, we have completed studying 6 chapters. 1/3 of your spiritual journey is over. 2/3 is left. 1/3 of spiritual journey is over, which means all of us are expert in Karma Yoga now. We're going to study Bhakti Yoga, Upasana. What is that Bhagavad Gita has taught us in the first set of 6 chapters? Where is that we are placed? How far we have progressed from where we started till now? A few words in order to understand. Just a synopsis of 6 chapters. Because though we say first set of 6 chapters are talking about karma, next set is talking about bhakti, third set is talking about jnanam, they are not isolated. They are one connected unit. When you study, you have to study it isolated, but it is all practiced all together. Spiritual life is not spent in an isolated way. Next 3 years I will do karma yoga only, bhakti and jnana will wait. And then I will start up bhakti. After I have completely established in bhakti, I will take up jnanam. There is nothing like that. This class is jnanam. Jnanam means gaining knowledge. The attitude with which you approach the class is bhakti. You understand? So bhakti is part of this. We could come sign into class with a very critical approach as well. What is the critical approach? I have heard so many people. What does this person have to say about Vedanta? Let me check out. You understand? So the attitude is different. Nothing wrong with that attitude. That is also an attitude. But that attitude will not help a person evolve. Judgmental attitude will not help a person evolve. So the attitude with which we perform any action, the attitude with which we take to anything would determine the bhakti. They are simultaneous practices. So the first set of 6 chapters is talking about the state of humanity that does not have direction from the scriptures. You understand? Spiritually illiterate person, what happens to that person? If you are illiterate with reference to the world, you can't make a living. If you are illiterate with reference to spiritual knowledge, we will not know how to live life. The person could be ruler of a nation, but that person will not know how to live life, would cause devastation to oneself and the world around. You understand? One Hitler was enough to cause devastation. One Krishna was enough to give knowledge to the entire world. You don't need dozens of Krishnas, hundreds of Krishnas, thousands of Krishnas you don't need. One Christ. So a person who has the right type of direction in life will be able to direct one's own life and that of others. When we do not have the right sense of direction in life, we will not know how to process our life, nor we will know how to take care of our obligations. And that is exactly the background of Bhagavad Gita. As long as everything is favorable in terms of environment, we are smiling, we are happy. The moment one thing goes wrong, everything breaks. One pillar is broken, life is broken. So the Gita talks about two types of tendencies in human beings, Kauravas and Pandavas. Kauravas represents the adharmic tendencies, selfish, self-centered. Pandavas represent the dharmic tendencies. And what is interesting is, if you look at the Bhagavad Gita and Mahabharata superficially, Duryodhana never cried. He never went to Krishna, cried and said, I am not able to get rid of anyone, I am not able to kill. If there was an opportunity and necessity to kill Bhishma and Drona, Duryodhana would have killed very easily. You understand? Pramod. Duryodhana would not have had any conflict in killing Bhishma and Drona. Arjuna has a conflict. The starting point of Bhagavad Gita is a conflict. Arjuna was faced with the conflict, and the conflict is called as Dharma Sankatam. So the Bhagavad Gita is saying that don't come here to learn management. Bhagavad Gita teaches management. Bhagavad Gita teaches how to handle families. Bhagavad Gita teaches how to be free from stress. These are all very shallow application of Bhagavad Gita. People who have not understood Gita will talk about Gita like this. What is Bhagavad Gita? Starting point of Bhagavad Gita. Dharma Sankatam. Sankatam means a conflict, a churning inside, a discomfort. Discomfort arising from what? Mother-in-law is coming home for 2 months. Not that discomfort. No Bhagavad Gita verse is going to talk to you about it. Discomfort from neighbor playing music. This time also I made the mistake of going to Gita Nandini's house, Divya. When I went to India, all the class members called and said, you are going to Gita Nandini's house? Definitely. I said, please don't go upstairs, they said. Because last time she locked me in the washroom. 2.5 hours I was in the washroom. Meryl, you know the story, right? You don't know the story. I asked her, can I use the washroom? She said, go up. There's a guest room. You can use the washroom. I went up. After I went inside, she said, don't lock the door. I said, what is this? You're giving me access to washroom and saying, don't lock. I've already locked. It doesn't open, she said. My God. I tried, it didn't open. 2 hours I was locked inside. So this time I said, I am not going up. He said, yes, we have given you the ground floor room. And she came and switched on the air conditioning. I said, January, why do you need air conditioning? She said, after 10 p.m., the neighbor's family, they become hyperactive. Music, cooking, partying, playing with their dogs, everything starts. Wherever I go, two things don't leave my life, DOG and GOD. My prarabdha with dogs is very, very strong. Raghu. In his house, neighbor, the activity starts at 10:30. So how to handle my mind with reference to neighborhood of dogs? Bhagavad Gita doesn't talk about all this. This type of sankatam, it doesn't talk about. You understand? The only thing that it says is be grateful to every environment that you are placed in. More than this, there is no lesson, no advice. Then what is the message of Gita? What does it talk about? It talks about dharma sankatam. It talks about a sankatam, a churning, a conflict, a concern, a stalemate, a state of paralysis that comes because of not understanding your dharma. You understand, Benny? Not understanding your dharma. Your dharma means your duty. Duty is a very casual interpretation, meaning of dharma. Your positioning in life. How do I position myself with reference to life? If you do not have the wisdom of positioning yourself, there is a conflict that arises within you. You lose your peace of mind. You lose your harmony. And when you lose your peace of mind, harmony, when you can't think, you can't make the right choices. You become paralyzed to perform your action. That was the state of Arjuna. So the state of Arjuna is a state where he was paralyzed intellectually. And he was in turmoil, mental turmoil. So Bhagavad Gita is not talking about mental ill health problems also. It is only a byproduct. As a byproduct, you will be free from all this. But because of mental issues, if a person studies Bhagavad Gita, the moment that aspect is sorted out, they will check out. You understand? Because the byproduct is received, why would they even put in any more effort? So these are all byproducts of the knowledge. What is the main product? The main product of knowledge is it starts teaching dharma. Dharma means how to position yourself with reference to life. A cat or a dog or a lizard or a lion or a leopard or a crocodile, a bird or a plant does not need to be taught how to position yourself in life. Only a human being needs this knowledge. How to position oneself with reference to life. So if you take a superficial study of Bhagavad Gita, Duryodhana never had dharma sankatam. He never had a dharmic conflict. It is only the Pandavas that had dharmic conflict. So for you to have a dharmic conflict, you should be pursuer of a dharma. I have no dharmic conflict at all in life. Tamasic person. Understand? A dharmic person will never have a conflict. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre. The first verse of Bhagavad Gita is dharma. Starts with dharma. So when there is a conflict in life, what is that we do? When there is a conflict in life, where is the conflict coming from? A person in a situation of conflict will not be able to go through this inquiry. You understand? A person who is in a state of conflict, affected, will not be able to go through the inquiry. But Arjuna could not go through the inquiry himself. You and I are not placed in a situation of conflict yet. Therefore, you have to fortify your intellect to understand what causes conflict. Not only understand what causes conflict, avoid that type of a lifestyle. So the Gita is an analysis, diagnosis and prognosis of what causes conflict. A human being alone gets into a situation of conflict. A lion doesn't get into a situation of conflict. The tree outside doesn't have a situation of conflict. In the month of April, May, as we enter into the season of spring, you find the trees will come back with their leaves. There is no tree that it is going to say, I like this way, I don't want leaves. Nor there is any tree that is going to say in October, I will never shed my leaves. You all shed if you want. Why? I am totally different from everyone. I am an original thinker. No tree will say that. They don't have any conflict. A human being is in a state of conflict because we all have choices to make in life. And if we do not know how to make the right choices in life, we land ourselves into situations of conflict. When we are in such conflict, how to get us out of that situation, this paradox, is what Bhagavad Gita is talking about. The moment we are into a situation of conflict, we blame external world and external environment for our internal conflict. The whole world becomes hostile. Family becomes hostile. Work becomes hostile. Weather becomes hostile. Traffic becomes hostile. Everything becomes hostile. What used to give you a source of strength and pleasure is now giving hostility. That is because there is a conflict within the personality. How to resolve this conflict? So the first 43 verses of Gita, the first chapter, entire chapter 43 verses, Arjuna is talking about what has caused this conflict inside him. 10, 12 verses, there is no problem at all. It just describes the war situation. People are assembled. And then Arjuna is driving in. Krishna is driving his chariot. They are entering the scene. As soon as they enter the scene, Arjuna says, place me in front of both armies. Krishna brings and places him in front of Drona, Bhishma. Conflict starts. What is that? Am I to fight this battle and kill the Kauravas? If I have to kill the Kauravas, I have to kill Drona and Bhishma. I want to kill the Kauravas, but I don't want to kill Bhishma and Drona. I want this job, but I don't want night shift. I want this family, but I don't want to take care of family members. I want to live in a big family, but I will not do my duties, obligations towards my family members. I want to live in Canada, but I don't like cold weather. I like India, but what about pollution and traffic jam? So what Bhagavad Gita says is, you have a choice in life to accept something fully or get rid of something fully. Life may not give you the choice of selectively picking up. You understand? Selectively, you may not be able to pick up. When you live with the person, you are living with the entire set of gunas. Subhash means entire set of gunas. You understand, Subhash? If there is a way of doing MRI of Subhash, my mind says, these 35-40 gunas I like, I have no problem with Subhash. These 2 gunas, get rid of it. After that, I will be in perfect peace with Subhash. Unfortunately, those 2 gunas, Subhash is not ready to give up. You understand? Subhash, just for example. So my mind would say, 30 gunas of you, I have no problem. That 1 guna in you, I have a problem. Please get rid of that guna and come. I will accept you totally. I put the responsibility on you. So all of us, what we are doing is, we accept many gunas in others. 1 or 2 aspects we take up and say, get rid of this and come back to me. I will be God to you. If that person knows how to get rid of 1 or 2 aspects in them, they would have become God to themselves. They don't have to do for others' sake. So he says, get rid of Bhishma and Drona. I will go ahead and fight the battle. 43 verses he talks about why he is in a state of turmoil. He is in a state of pressure, strain, stress. And then in the second chapter, all through Krishna is keeping quiet. What is important is first chapter, entire chapter, Krishna is keeping quiet. Because he's saying the world is wrong, environment is wrong, religion is wrong, the rituals will be gone. He's giving all types of explanations. And Krishna allows him to vomit fully. You understand? Vomit means mental vomit. As long as the person thinks, I know what my problem is, why is anyone even interested in helping them? Let them deal with it. He keeps quiet. Second chapter, verse 7, he spells it out. After the class is over, go through the verse. Second chapter, verse 7. Arjuna spells out what his problem is. And that is where the Bhagavad Gita brings up this idea of dharma sankatam. Karpanya dosho pahata swabhavaha prichami tvam dharma sammuda cheta. Arjuna says. Any one of you remember the verse? Dharma sammuda cheta. Yak shreyasta. Yak shreya. What is shreya for me? Nishchidam bruhi tanme. Sishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. He says. Chapter 2, verse 7, he says, Karpanya dosho. Karpanya means miserly. Dosham means worry. Because of a miserly approach towards life, I have landed myself into this dosha, into this worry. So Arjuna says, I am into this conflict because of my own mistake. You understand? Verse 7. Raghu, after the class, you go through the verse. My swabhavam, I have lost my nature because of karpanya dosha. Karpanya dosha means miserly attitude. What is that miserly attitude? A human being is capable of identifying with everyone. Because of likes and dislikes, he picks up ragadvesham, attachment and aversion. Because of attachment and aversion, I have become miserly. And that has caused this conflict. What is that conflict? Dharma sammuda cheta. My thinking is disturbed because dharma sammudam, dharma sankatam. You tell me what is Shreya, what is evolutionary for me. I am not here to ask you what is nice for me, what is pleasurable for me, what is pleasant for me. I am here to ask you what is evolutionary, what is right for me, what is dharma for me. Sishyasteham shadimam prapannam. As a disciple, I am surrendering to you completely. So verse 7, he surrenders his ego and is receptive with his intellect. From verse 11, the sermon starts. Bhagavad Gita starts from verse 11. Krishna starts the sermon from verse 11. 11 to 30, he talks about the indestructible nature of the self. Arjuna, all the problems that you are facing is because you have got entangled, enmeshed, involved, and completely lost sight of your identity. You got entangled in your profile, enmeshed in your profile, attached, involved in your profile, and completely forgotten your person. The first sense of restoring the intellect is to differentiate between profile and person. You sit in a group, everyone is talking about profiles. What is that profile? As a father, you talk about, as a mother, you talk about, as a son, you talk about, as a daughter, you talk about, as a teacher, you talk about, as a student, you talk about. You always talk about your profile, and you talk about what excites you or dejects you. You understand? What excites you or dejects you? Profile. The first lesson Gita teaches is learn to differentiate between your profiles in life and your person. Profiles are required for completing your transactions in life. It is your person, it is your identity that is central to life. So when you learn to differentiate between profiles and your person, what happens is you learn to differentiate between transactions of life and purpose of life. Arthakama or transactions of life. Arthakama means engagement in wealth, engagement in pleasures, family, office, work, business, citizenship, war, conflict, emotions, everything comes into Arthakama. These are transactions. Find me one person who doesn't have any problem with transactions of life and they have a problem with purpose of life alone. You understand? If you find a person who has problem about life, not about transactions, you got a Upanishad student. Upanishad students' questions, Upanishad students' problems in life circulate around life, not about transactions. Oil prices are going up. People are being thrown out of job. What will happen to me? I am going to Himalayas to ask a Upanishadic master. No fellow will go to a Upanishad master to ask about these things. You understand? Let the prices go up, let the prices go down. What do I have to do with it? My thought process is completely different. Chicken came first or egg came first? Tree came first or seed came first? Waker produced the dreamer or dreamer produced the waker? These are my problems. That is a Upanishad level student. When your concerns relate to purpose of life, you are a Upanishadic level student. That is a seeker. When your concerns relate to transactions of life, Arthakama is your entanglement. You understand? So the first line of differentiation is to identify where your problem is coming from. Problems that are coming from Arthakama entanglements cannot be solved within the circle of Arthakama entanglements. This is what people are trying to do. Job is stressful. Leave this job and take up another job. What do you do? Partner is stressful. Same thing. Leave this partner and pick up another partner. You leave this partner. I will introduce you to my friends. Who are my friends? They are also same. They followed my advice. They are in a similar situation. So we are trying to search for solution coming from Arthakama problems within the realm of Arthakama. The Bhagavad Gita says the problem is not coming from Arthakama areas, transactions of life. The problem is coming from your excessive involvement in it. So verses 11 to 30 of second chapter talks about Atma Jnanam. Jiva Swarupam, we started with. Jiva Swarupam means the nature of Jiva, individual. The nature of individual is you are composed of physical body, mind and intellect. Physical body, mind and intellect are your instruments to contact the world to perform transactions. Don't get entangled in them. Apart from earning wealth from the world and engaging in pleasures, a human being has two other obligations. They are called as dharma and moksha. The entire world is involved in arthakama. Wealth and pleasure, wealth and pleasure. All problems are relating to wealth and pleasure. Wealth means activities in the world. Pleasure means your engagement of senses and mind. All problems are coming from these two areas. Vivekananda did not go around the country looking for Arthakama relief. His problem was, have you seen God? Have you seen God? Have you seen God? Is there anyone who has seen God? That was his problem. So his problem related to moksha. Arjuna's problem related to dharma. Our problems relate to neither of these two. We don't have these two problems at all. We are well off than Arjuna. We are better off than Vivekananda. We are great people. Our problems are Arthakama. So first understand where is problems coming from. They are coming from excessive involvement and entanglements in areas of Arthakama. You cannot find solutions within that realm. You have to expand your vision to understand there are 4 obligations. It is like a car that has been running on 2 tires, 2 wheels. A car is meant to go on 4 wheels. If you have been driving on 2 wheels and realize that it is not a pleasure ride, it is causing a lot of shocks, pain, you change the 2 wheels. Best wheels you bring and change. There is no difference in the drive. The moment you land the car on 4 wheels, what happens? There is a rest. So 11 to 30 talk about Atma Jnanam. Arjuna, the problems in life is because you got entangled in the transactions of life and lost the sense of purpose in life. Does that mean I don't have to deal with transactions of life? Does that mean I should not take care of my family? Would that mean that I don't have to worry about my children, my work? Should I not aspire to buy a Tesla car? You can do all that. There is no problem. All this, when it comes to Arthakama aspects of life, perform your Swabhavam karma. Verse 31, he says, karma you have to perform. You can't quit your work. You can't get rid of the world. Karma you have to perform. But you can perform karma for the sake of your appeasement and pleasures, or you can perform karma for the sake of self-purification. So the moment you gain knowledge, what happens? The belief is, the moment you gain Vedanta knowledge, you'll resign the job. You'll get rid of all the family members and you become a sannyasi, as though sannyasa is very easy. We can get rid of the family here and go to Himalayas. There you'll go and marry a Kashmiri person. That's all the differences. You'll start another family there. Because independence is not gained. Therefore, the person will pick up the same lifestyle wherever the person goes. So, Swabhavam karma, Swadharma is introduced in verse 31. Perform Swadharma. Atma Jnanam, Jiva Swarupam, Atma Jnanam, Swadharma. Swadharma means Swabhavam karma for the sake of spiritual evolution. And then Krishna tells Arjuna, there is no such thing called spiritual life and material life, Arjuna. This is a wrong concept. I'm 62. I'm just waiting for 3. I'm not 62. I'm 62. I'm waiting for 3 more years. After 3 more years, what will happen? 65 will come, correct? But pension, after pension, there is no tension. Once I get pension, I'm full-time available for Vedanta. 65, you can't hear, you can't see, you can't read. Sugar or chili, what is served on the plate, you can't taste. What Vedanta can you understand when senses are dead? You understand? Senses through which you are receiving the stimuli from the world. So the world is cut off. 30% efficiency, the senses are functioning. And then you are trying to aspire for Brahman. What a tragedy. So we believe that now I am engaged in material obligations of life. Once the material obligations in life are taken care of, then I will be ready for spirituality. Krishna breaks this idea and defines what is yoga. In the 2nd chapter, verses 48 and 50, he defines what is yoga. When you perform your Swabhavam karma, you get 2 things in life, Arjuna. One is yoga karmasu kaushalam. Equanimity of mind is yoga, kaushalam. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. Dexterity of action in yoga. Karmasu kaushalam. Karmasu means in karma. Kaushalam means dexterity. Dexterity of action is yoga. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Samatvam means siddha, asiddha. Siddha means success, asiddha means not successful, failure, you can say. In and through the fluctuations of life, you are able to keep your mind equanimous. Such a person is ready for higher pursuit of contemplation and meditation. So 48 and verse 50 of chapter 2, he defines what is yoga. Yoga is not physical yogasana. Yoga asana is different, yoga is different. Yoga asana is one of the aspects of yoga. It is not opposed to yoga, it is one of the aspects. Yoga means an integrated inner personality. The word yoga starts with integration of inner personality. What is it? Externally, when you are dynamic, internally you lose your composure. If internally you have to be composed, you have to run away from the external world. Vacations, getaways. What are these getaways? What are you getting away from? You're getting away from your karma bhumi. The thought of Monday morning is stressful. The thought of Friday evening, especially if it is a long weekend. Long weekend it is. What is so happy about long weekend? I am running away from my karma bhumi. So why is that we have to run away from karma bhumi? The thought of action seems to produce stress. Action is not producing peace. So he says a person to whom action is stressful is not ready for spirituality yet. The only type of rest that we know to enjoy is through inaction or through stimulating the senses. The second type of rest, the second type of pleasure, enjoyment we know is to stimulate the senses. You don't need any wisdom to drink a cup of coffee or a juice or a liquid. Stimulate yourself. What intellect do you need? You don't need any intellect for that. Lie down and then go off to sleep. Not in a Vedanta class. Otherwise, what intellect do you need in order to sleep and get rest? For these two, there's no intellect needed. So yoga, what is yoga? Karmasu kaushalam, dexterity in action. Samatvam yoga uchate. Samatvam means equanimity of mind in and through opposites, fluctuations of life. This is yoga, Arjuna. This type of yoga I am going to teach you, by which you will remain stable. Once you have attained this type of perfection, then you are ready for what is called as contemplation, meditation. Your mind has become meditative. By picking up a mala, closing your eyes and chanting something, you cannot meditate. The first and the last thing that you need for meditation is a still mind, a relatively calm mind. A still mind is required. Without preparing the mind to arrive at that point, attempting meditation is waste of time. It is futile. Meditation is like marathon. If we can't even walk, how can you go on a marathon? 43 kilometers. One whole life you can complete one marathon. That is different. But within a day, how can you complete a marathon? Not possible. You need enormous stamina for that. Similarly, you need enormous mental stamina for meditation. So 51 and 52, he talks about what is that meditation? What happens in the state of meditation? Mind and intellect are transcended. One who has transcended one's mind and intellect is called as an enlightened person. How does an enlightened person conduct oneself in the world? Sthita prajna, second chapter. Verses 55 to 78 talks about Sthita prajna, a person who has transcended the mind and intellect. You understand the sequence? Jiva Swarupam, nature of individual. Atma Swarupam, the nature of your real identity, your self, Atma. And then what is that you should do in order to attain this knowledge? Start with your karma, swabhavam karma. Don't discard your action. And what is the test that you are performing action rightly? You should be able to combine two things in your life. One is mental equanimity, the other is dynamism in action. If you have to forego one for the other, you have not learned yoga. You should be able to keep both going. that type of a person will attain meditativeness, and that type of a person performs or practices meditation, it will take the person towards enlightenment, not otherwise. So what is the starting point? Where do we start? We do not start with meditation. We do not start with enlightenment. We start with action. That is third chapter. Third chapter talks about karma yoga. Action all of us are performing. The Bhagavad Gita is not going to tell us, please act. All of us are performing action. But all of us are performing what is called as karma. Karma means action. Integrating your action for the goal that you want to aspire for is called as karma yoga. When you perform action for the sake of evolution, it is called yoga, karma yoga. The entire third chapter can be summarized in one word, yagna. Jiva Swarupam, Atma Swarupam, Swadharma, Yoga, Dhyanam, Samadhi, Sthita Prajna, Yagna. You understand the words? If you remember these words, even in the middle of the night, you can recapture the sequence of the Bhagavad Gita. Dharma Sagatam is the starting point. Jiva Swarupam, Atma Swarupam, Swabhavam Karma or Swadharma, Yoga. After yoga comes Dhyanam, Samadhi, Sthita Prajna. This is the sequence of the Bhagavad Gita, the blueprint of all the scriptures. Bhagavad Gita is following the same sequence. Having got the blueprint, what do? Having got the blueprint from your structural engineer, you do not go and sit in the 15th floor. You have to start digging the basement first. The blueprint is given to you, but you have to start digging the basement, lay the foundation, and then start building the tower. So having got the blueprint, you don't straight away think about the 15th floor. That will be the result. You have to go to the opposite direction, dig, and then make the foundation strong. So the foundation of spiritual life is karma. Karma means action. When you perform action for the sake of spiritual purification, that type of action is called as yagna. The word yagna means action dedicated to a higher objective in life. What is higher? What is lower? Lower means an action where arthakama or the results. You don't want anything more than arthakama. What is that you are teaching Bhagavad Gita for? If you ask me, it gives me 3 meals. I am able to pay my rent and mortgages. There is neither rent nor mortgage. I am just giving an example. I can change a car once every 5 years, 6 years. I can buy new clothes. So why is that I am performing action? Any answer anyone gives will fall into one of the 2 categories, artha or kama. I can get things from the world. Why do you want to get things from the world? With the idea of enjoying and finding happiness, pleasure in them. When you expand the possibility of performing action beyond artha kama to dharma and moksha, that life is called a spiritual life. You understand now, Benny? So, spirituality is expansion of objectivity in life, not contraction of your perception. If you contract our perception, if we reduce our obligations in life, that is not spirituality. It is expansion of possibility. What is that expansion of possibility? All the time I was thinking about arthakama, what I will get from the world through this action, how I can enjoy my life better. Now Vedanta has introduced me to 2 further objectives, dharma and moksha. How to be centered in life. What is my obligation in this life? Dharma. What is my ultimate objective in life? Moksha. These 2 I have started incorporating as the purpose of my action. That type of action is called as yagna karma. In the 3rd chapter, Krishna says, Yajñārtāt karmanon yatra lokoyam karma bandhanah tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. All actions people perform in this world other than yajna karma bind you. Bind you means they produce punyam or papam. With the bag of punyam and papam, you will be going through punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. You will be going through the cycle again and again. You won't find an exit. What is this yajna karma? No one talked to me about this. School did not teach, university did not teach. My in-laws did not teach me. Parents did not teach me. My Vedanta teacher also did not teach me. We blame others. 10th verse of chapter 3 says, Sahayagnya praja srishtva purovachah prajapatihi. When the Creator created you, He installed a chip in you called as Yagna. The problem is you don't know where it is and how to use it. So the third chapter is talking about what is Yagna Karma, how to perform Yagna. Inaction is condemned in the Gita. Inaction. Selfish, restless action is cursed in the Gita. What is cursed in the Gita? Steyi papi. He talks about steyi. Steyi means one who steals from others. What is stealing from others? A person who does not perform the obligation but enjoys the benefit is a steyi. Papi is one who is calculated. Whatever I do, I'll reciprocate for that. Yajna sishta, the capacity to identify with a higher objective, total cause. Third chapter talks about it. How to perform life, how to perform action in your life. Third chapter talks about it. Fourth chapter talks about how to constantly keep the awareness on divine going. That's a Narada's example. Vishnu gave a test. Who's a better bhakta? Narada asked, everyone talks about the bhakta and who's living in the world. Is he a better bhakta or am I a better bhakta? Vishnu said, I'll give you a simple task, Narada. Take this small cup of oil and go around the world thrice. Not a drop should come out of it. So he gave a narrow, small cup full with oil. It's impossible even to get out of your room without spilling it. Narada went around the 3 worlds thrice. And Vishnu measured it. Perfect measurement. Same oil. Narada asked, I passed? He said, yes, you passed. But when you were going around the world, how many times you thought of me? Narada said, how can I think of you? I had to think of the oil. I have to make sure not a drop of oil comes out of the cup. How can I think about you? He said, so the moment you have work, you forget me. When you have nothing else to do, what is there to think of me? That fellow has everything, all the obligations in life. In and through the obligations, he is intuiting me. He is a greater bhakta, he said. So all these stories are only talking about how to intuit the divine as you are performing action. 4th chapter talks about it. 12 yajnas. Go through the sequence. Yogi becomes a sannyasi. Sannyasi becomes a jnani. 5th chapter. Yogi, sannyasi, jnani. Before you even try to become a yogi, you ask yourself a question, are you a yukta or ayukta? So 5 types of personalities the 5th chapter talks about. Yukta means one who is united with higher goal in life. Ayukta means a person who is chasing artha kama entanglements. You understand? So from ayukta, you become yukta. From yukta, you become yogi. From yogi, you become sannyasi. Sannyasi becomes enlightened, the jnani. 5th chapter. 6th chapter talks about that state of meditation. So the 6 chapters talk about evolution of individual. Evolution of individual through karma. Tvam, you. What is your possibility in life? Is what is talked in the first 6 chapters. Chapter 7 to 12 is talking about bhakti. You understand the sequence? We're going to study the 7th chapter. Chapter 7 is talking about bhakti. What is this bhakti? Bhakti is not going to talk about Shiva, Vishnu, Ganesha, Ayyappa, not that type of bhakti. First set of 6 chapters are talking about Jiva Swarupam. The second set of 6 chapters are talking about Ishvara Swarupam. Ishvara Swarupam means the form of Ishvara. The word Ishvara in Vedanta means the cosmic presence. What is called as God in English? Very casually called as God. The nature of divine. So chapters 1 to 6 is talking about microcosm, the individual. Chapter 7 to 12 is talking about macrocosm, the world. Just now I said chapter 7 to 12 is talking about Ishvara, God. Now I am saying chapter 7 to 12 is talking about world. I don't know if any one of you picked up the contradiction. One of the two has to be right. Both cannot be. This is where the reconciliation is. In Vedanta or in the Vedas, the world is not seen apart from God. God is not seen apart from world. The pot is not seen apart from clay. The clay is not seen apart from pot. This truth we have to start appreciating when we come to Vedanta. You may not realize it, but start appreciating it. You understand, Himanshu Bhai? Pot and clay are not two different entities. Clay is the substance. Pot is the name and form, Nama Rupa. So Vedanta makes it very clear that the world that you are seeing is nothing but Nama Rupa of the divine consciousness. So when you look at the world, how do you look at it? This is what is spoken in chapter 7 to 12. God is not separate from the world. World is God. Chapters 10 and 11 directly communicate this idea. Chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga, manifestation of God in the world. Chapter 11, Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga, the whole world seen as the divine form, Vishwarupam. So 10 and 11 deliver the message of Veda. God is all-pervading and interpenetrating. This is the definition of God. God is not apart from the world. God is not absent in the world. God is not beyond the world. World is God. God is world. Why is that I am not able to understand? Because all of us have our own idea of God. The moment I say water, Hindu, Muslim, Christian understands rightly. The moment I say mouse, Hindu, Muslim, Christian understands same way. The moment I say Kleenex, paper towel, Hindu, Muslim, Christian understands the same way. The moment I say God, Hindu, Muslim, Christian doesn't understand the same way. Within Hindu, the Shaivite and Vaishnavite doesn't understand. Within Shaivite, the Veera Shaivite and the normal South Indian Shaivite doesn't understand the same way. The moment you say God, Vaishnavite doesn't understand the same way. Vadagalai or Tengalai, which Vaishnavite? So the word God is so subjective. Innumerable definitions or ideas about God, we are not able to understand what it is. So 7 to 12 talks about what is the nature of Ishvara. Just as individual has two parts, body, mind and intellect, that is matter, and the consciousness, that is the divine spirit. With reference to the world, with reference to God, there are two aspects. One is called as Saguna, the other is called as Nirguna. Two aspects. With reference to you, the individual, there are two aspects. One is Deha, the other is Dehi. Deha means body. Dehi means that which is residing inside the body, your mind and intellect. There is Shariram, there is Shariri. Shariram means body. Shariri means that which is residing inside the body. Similarly, there are two aspects with reference to God. One is called as Saguna, the other is called as Nirguna. So chapters 7 to 12, what is that they are talking about? They are talking about Ishvara Swarupam, Ishvara Upasana, Ishvara Kripa. Three words, remember. Benny. Ishvara Swarupam, what is the nature of God? Ishvara Upasana, how to worship God? Ishvara Kripa, how is that you will get divine grace? What is the role of divine grace in life? Chapter 7 to 12. Having understood this, there is a transformation of feeling in you. That transformation of feeling is called as Bhakti. 12th chapter talks about what is Bhakti. Captain, do you understand? 7 to 12 is talking about Bhakti Yoga. The right word for it is Upasana. When you perform Upasana the way Krishna shows in the Gita, there is a transformation that happens in your feelings, in your emotion, in your bhavana towards life. That transformation is called as Bhakti. Going to temple is not Bhakti. Chanting a mantra is not Bhakti. Making a donation or offering to the deity is not Bhakti. These are all called as Upasana. Upasana means practices. Karma, Bhakti. And the chapter 13 to 18 is talking about knowledge. Jnana Yoga. All this is knowledge. The third set of 6 chapters is talking about Jnana Yoga. What is that Jnana Yoga? It is talking about how to take this individual and make the person realize that you are the total. You are not this individual. Tattvamasi is the advice given by the Guru. And the disciple goes through the sequence of practices, realizes the self, Atma in oneself, and claims Aham Brahmasmi. I have realized that this I that I have been claiming is nothing but the total. It is not the individual. This is the state of enlightenment, realization. So the Bhagavad Gita communicates the aphorism of Upanishad, Tattvamasi. The Bhagavad Gita communicates the 3 essential practices for spiritual evolution: Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga. With this background, after watching Chennai-Bangalore match today, come back next week. You will understand chapter 7. Announce.
Hari Om. On Saturday, April 18th, we have our annual spring meet lecture on Moha Mudgara, based on Bhajagovindam. If you have not registered yet for this event, please do so. Also share the event details with your friends and colleagues, as these public lectures happening quarterly are an excellent opportunity for new students to get introduced to the subject and begin their study of Vedanta. Also from today, Yogasana and Bhajan will be held at the Frank McKechnie Community Center on Bristol Road in Mississauga from 4:30 p.m. every Sunday. Please note, this is open only for class attendees and their immediate families. Now over to Rangaji for any questions.
The public lecture is for existing class members also. You said for new people, excellent opportunity. For all of us, it's an excellent opportunity, Pramod. Any question? Meet next week with chapter 7. Hari Om.